I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Invocation by First United Methodist.
God's grace in all creation, we pause in this day, at the beginning of this meeting, to ask for blessing. Lord, as this group meets, as men and women, we pray that you would pour out your spirit of love, kindness, and we defend us. God, as we continue to move forward in this day and in this community, we see each other as neighbors to love, neighbors to care for. And now guide us on this journey. May your blessing be present for each one of us. And I pray this all in Jesus' loving and holy name. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Charks. Here. Smith. Here. Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher. Here. McCardle. Barrington.
Here.
Allen.
Here. We have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on consent agenda may be removed by a council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda item. Is there anything you wish to remove? Okay, entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Sabers, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody wish to discuss the items on consent? Roll call, please.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle. Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charks. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor, member, city council on an item that's not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken. Anybody wish to address council?
Hi.
Sonia.
Hi, I'm Sonia Vanderwick from Mitchell Township. I hope you guys are having a good summer. It's beautiful out. I wanted to just give you a little update here from the World Council for Health. I don't know how many of you have heard of that group. They're a nonprofit organization for people to inform people about the public health knowledge, sense-making for the science and shared wisdom, and they consist of about 140-plus global coalition of health-focused organizations. One of their principal members is Dr. Robert W. Malone, who is the inventor of the messenger RNA technology, but not the COVID shots. On June 15th, this council announced an immediate stop to all experimental COVID shots. That's every single one of them on the market. This warning came due to the fact that there have been over 3.5 million injuries worldwide. This does not include thousands more that were and are never reported, and over 40,000 deaths in the U.S. And in Colombia, the country of Colombia, they actually keep track of our deaths and stuff in the U.S., and they actually say it's more of over 250,000 deaths due to these shots. Remember, previous vaccine trials were halted after 50 deaths, and we are still currently in the experimental trial phase of this. So all of these shots have led to thousands of professional athletes to collapse. I don't know if you've seen that in the news. Young athletes like this don't just die. It's not weather. Most of them had had shots, and most of them have been related to heart attacks. Tens of thousands of people have died not knowing that they were a part of this experimental trial. And currently, if there's any other boosters or monkeypox or any of that, all of those are experimental shots. So you need to keep that in mind. If your healthcare provider is not telling you that it's experimental, you need to ask questions. You need to ask for package insert. There will not be a package insert because it's experimental. So then they need to inform you of the risks and benefits, which no one is being informed of. So interestingly, the 5th largest life insurance company in the U.S., Lincoln National, reported a 163% increase in death benefits paid under its group life insurance policies for 2021. The annual statements for Lincoln National Life Insurance Company show that the company paid out in death benefits under group life insurance policies a little over $500 million in 2019, $548 million in 2020, and a stunning $1.4 billion in 2021. Another insurance company called One America, CEO Scott Davison, stated that this is industry-wide, and he described it as an unheard of and huge numbers and the highest death rates that have ever been seen in the history of life insurance business. And the only thing that changed was the COVID shots. This information speaks for itself. No one should be prescribing or taking the experimental gene-altering shots. And that may seem a little bold for some of you, but when you listen to all of these people, and especially Dr. Robert Malone, who invented messenger RNA technology to say that these are unsafe for humans, that we should heed their advice. What I would say is, will you line up for the next big pharma experimental shot, or will you question their motives, their science, and whether you want to risk your life based on deadly shots? Safe to say, I wouldn't trust any of these shots on the market after the deaths and injuries that we have seen in the last year. If you need more information, please let me know, and I would be glad to help you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dan Buchelman, volunteer president of Mitchell Main Street and Beyond. I'm just here to introduce our new event coordinator. This is Elizabeth Luzak, and so I'll let her step up to the podium and introduce herself a little bit, tell you guys about herself. But we're proud to have her as part of our team, and so I'll let her go from here.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Elizabeth Luzak. I'm born and raised from southern Minnesota, south of Mankato, in a little town south of there, about 6 miles south of Mapleton, if you know where that is. I went to SDSU, is where I met my husband. He's a local boy, so we moved here after we got out of the military. Me and him did ROTC at SDSU. We both graduated. He's an engineer. I'm a loggy, so I got to follow him while we were in the military. He was the engineer officer for 7.5 years, and I was a logistical officer for 4.5. We have 2 wonderful boys. Benjamin is 4, William is 2. My background, I love being an events manager for Mitchell Main Street and Beyond. I've already been in the position for about 8 weeks. I've gotten to work with quite a few faces in the room already, so I'm thrilled to see everybody. I am excited to help out our town, bring new and great opportunities, and keep our traditions that we already have established and thrive and bring them more to the 21st century. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I am so excited to be a part of Mitchell Main Street and Beyond. Welcome. Thank you.
Hey, wait, before you go, why don't you tell us a little bit about Thursdays?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
So if you haven't heard it on the radio and you haven't seen it on Facebook and all that great stuff, pre-Sturgis is happening. Thursday at 5 is when it kicks off. Road closure starts at 4. There is a motorcycle ride going from Clockworks all the way from the bypass out around the lake, and then it's going to come back in on Main Street. It's going to have to jog over because of the construction, but it's going to come back up on First and start parking right outside the Corn Palace here. We're going to have kid activities, corn maze, Strider bikes, big friend, little friend raffle drawing. That's going to have their $10,000 drawing, $4,000, $2,000, and so on. All kinds of great stuff. Motorcycle parking, and then we're going to have the show and shine show. Yep. all vehicles are welcome. ATVs, buses, anything that might be cool. Going from 5th down to 4th, 3rd area. 401 Crate's also going to get involved to help bring that side of the community out as well. At 3rd and Main, we're going to have the National Guard inflatables, music, all kinds of great stuff happening there. We're going to have the Greenway is going to bring out some antique tractors and other kind of cool stuff. And then Trail King's going to have some trailers out there, and then the Sea Bear stunt shows are at 5, 6, 7, and 8 down by the depot. There is a special event cup for this event, and every dollar raised is going to go towards the Huron Strider bikes. And you're like, why Huron? Well, we've already funded all the Mitchell schools, parks in Alexandria, and all of them. So the specialty cup for this event, you can drink up and down Main Street, anything in the cup. If it's not in the cup, it will be asked to be poured out. You can get those at any of the bars up and down Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, you want to add anything quick, Doug?
Doug Greenway, Corn Palace Director. The only thing I'd add is the advertisement they have out is not quite accurate with the bands. So West and Frank will start at 7 o'clock till 8:30, and then the Dean James Band will go from 9 to 11.
Okay.
So we invite the community down. It's always a fun, and we should note that the Clockworks is celebrating 25 years in Mitchell this year, 15 years since they've had this social, and of course then we know, and we're happy that it's gotten big enough that Mitchell Main Street and the Chamber, Corn Palace, and the city have gotten involved to make it a large event for the town.
Anybody else wish to address council? Mr. Bender?
That's always a fun event. Today, my pronouns are they, them. I'm wearing booty shorts and an Iron Paradise shirt. How do I look? Okay, I'd like to address an article from last week, Daily Republic, regarding a $100,000 study. Okay, a city manager, a lawyer, an engineer, whole water department, sewer department, building department, and an all-knowing body of counselors. I'm not calling into question the validity of the study. I'm calling into question the competence of the government as a whole. Now, a Harrisburg study was referenced in that article, so let me get you a hold of the superintendent there. His name is Toby. Maybe you can work together to save the city some money. Or I can get Joe, the engineer's number. His name is Wadle. He's a Mitchell boy, and he can work with you so we don't have to do a study or pay the engineers twice. Now, you guys got a lot of irons in the fire. A lot of this stuff is intertwined. Your agenda behind this study is to become eligible for the next grant. I stated that then. I believe Joe admitted that much in the article, but I couldn't be for sure because words can be deceiving. When you say that this is about equity, you're lying to the public, and as I stated then, the way you portray these studies to the public is deceitful and immoral. I also stated that our current system as a whole is corrupt beyond comprehension. Our system is everything the founders warned us about. And I believe every one of you is corrupt by proxy simply by being part of it, regardless of your good intentions. So please believe me when I say this is nothing personal, all right? Now there's a quote, back to the article. It makes perfect sense for some of the higher end users to be charged more, I guess. Now that just reminded me of Fauci, sorry, it's nothing personal, all right? Now Jeff Smith, it's not directed at you, but don't you guys ever get tired of stealing people's money? I'd love to have coffee sometime, by the way. Now jumping back to the lake quick, I was stupid me. For some reason I was under the impression that we might have had a little bit more leeway in what we want to do with that lake since it was man-made. But when Joe mentioned the Corps of Engineers, that said it all for me, and God bless you if you get anything done. Do you know how many engineers from the Corps it takes to change a light bulb? Nobody does, because they literally have to make out paperwork, ask permission, and that's not a joke. To me, a vast bureaucracy simply working to justify their existence is corruption. Definitions are hard to come by these days, just like equity. Do you remember when I told Susan that she had the biggest balls here? It's a good time. Now, big bureaucracy Bob here. You want subsidies for low-income water users. So you're a socialist. And whether it's a D or an R behind your name, everybody nowadays is a socialist. I think you know this, but if you wanted to fix the lake properly and at a fraction of the cost, you would tell the Corps of Engineers to take the Topeka Shiner and go fly a kite. Now that would take some testicular fortitude, wouldn't it? Anyway. You want to drain on the lake? I would be really surprised if the Corps allowed you to keep that after all this is said and done. No way they will allow you to regulate your own flows. And to finish, the golf courts at the Lakeview. Wow, that's pretty.
Thanks.
The golf carts at Lakeview, with global warming and all. Electric would have been nice, and even the goat ranch has GPS. Thanks, guys.
Sorry about that. I have it unmuted.
That's okay. I like that. Anybody else wish to address council? Okay. Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for City Council recess to sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing an action on application for Vanderham Motorsports, postponed for previous meeting. Vanderham Motorsports has applied for conditional use permit to operate an automotive repair services facility located at 2915 South Raleigh Street, legally described as Lot 11 of Iverson's addition, a southeast quarter of Section 33, Township 103 North, Range 60 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Davidson County, South Dakota. Said property is urban development UD.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I am here. I'm just sitting way back here. Is your microphone on? Yeah. It's green. Is that better? Yes. Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent, as you remember from the last meeting. That's better. I did not receive any new letters from anybody for or against this. There were letters sent out to 5 people. Harris Irrevocable Trust returned a letter. Craigos gave a letter at the meeting. We did have an extra letter that was presented from the neighbors of Vanderham Motorsports, and then Doug Schoenfelder, which was actually 2 properties down outside the 140 feet that we notified neighbors. Questions during some of the letters were the time of use, the licensing on the roads, noise, value property declining. This is urban development, which is not a residential zone. It is a agricultural zone. So agriculture is a business. That's what this would be, is a business as well. I can answer any questions for you that you may have. The applicant is here as well.
Any questions?
Maybe we have Dusty come up and just ask him a couple questions.
How we doing?
Good. Last meeting, they wanted you to go talk to the neighbors. I was just curious to go out and talk to the neighbors.
The only person I was able to get a hold of was Kyle Crago, and I talked to him last week and explained everything to him, and he's fine with me doing my thing as long as I'm just working on my own bikes and just doing a few tires like I explained to him. Because I'm not trying to go big, I'm just trying to work on my own bikes and build my own bikes. Yeah.
So let me get this straight. You're only going to be working on your own personal machines?
Well,
This isn't going to be a commercial operation?
well, I would love to be able to charge my friends when they want me to change their tires and stuff, you know? And, yeah. I only plan on probably working on like 10 bikes a year. This is a part-time thing. I work on my own stuff too.
Okay, and is this the same thing that you've been doing for many years?
Yeah, I've been working on my own bikes for many years, yes.
Can you tell me, I mean, if this is just your own bikes, why are we even talking about?
I have a lot of money invested into tools and other things, and like
Why
I
do you
said,
need a conditional use permit if it's just your own personal items?
if I do thousands of dollars of work on my friend's bike, I would like to get paid for that work.
So it's not just your own bike?
Well, no, I don't plan, but it's a part-time thing.
So your neighbor next door to you, if you could pull the map up, the Cragos,
Yep, Kyle, yep.
and he was okay.
Yep, after I talked to him, he was totally fine with it. He actually said he was going to try and talk to the other neighbors and try and get them to calm down. These are his exact words.
And they're just, right south of you?
Yeah, they own the two property lines.
21 and 61?
Yep, and then they own the one behind us too.
Okay. Thank you.
So would you be willing to put up a fence between yourself and the other neighbors on both sides? A nice fence to,
I mean, if it came down to that, yeah.
I think that's something that would maybe be helpful so that it prevents the line of sight a little bit. If you'd be, I mean, is that something that we can add to the?
It's a conditional use. You can put whatever conditions on it you want, right, Mr. Johnson?
How many feet, and I'm just sort of jumping on your piggyback, how many feet is the property line there? You and
It's
Craigles and the other one, the other neighbor?
It's a lot. That's a lot of property line to put
So I'm going
fence
to
up.
fast forward.
And we have
I don't know how
a
many
tree-
years left to be in business to break even if you make him put a fence up, for what it's worth.
We have a shelter belt on the one side, and the other side, we have a row of pine trees. So there ain't much line of sight anyway.
You're the red box there, correct?
Yes.
So you're on the west side, and that white box there is where your business would be?
Yep.
It's over 200 or 300 feet.
Those properties are 423 feet deep.
How much?
423.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So, Dusty, I don't know you, but I know your dad, and I ran into him last week. We were giving blood, as it turned out. And we were visiting just a little bit, and I've known and trusted Dean for years and years, and his comment to me was, Jeff, we're basically doing the same thing we've been doing for the last 20 years. Would you agree with that comment?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, because the only thing that's changed is I got my new tire machine, so now I can do my friend's tires and stuff too. So, yeah, I'd like to be able to pay for the tire machine. I mean, between me and my dad, we have 7 snowmobiles, 3 Harleys, 2 side-by-sides. We have a lot of toys. That's our thing. We just work on our own stuff for the most part. But I have all my friends wanting to, and I went to school at MTI.
I have 2 degrees out of MTI. I have farm power and power sports out of MTI. So that's the other thing. I would like to use my degrees and be able to pay for my schooling.
You had mentioned that Craigo's, is that how you say it?
Craigo, yep.
Craigo, who lived next to you, initially were opposed, and now after you talked to them, they're in favor of your deal. Do you have anything from them to show us?
No, I don't. I just talked to him in person. I walked over and talked to him last Monday.
The other ones raised south of you or north of you?
What's that?
Which ones are they?
Just to the south.
2961.
The one to the north would be Dave Wise.
I'm his dad, and I did talk to Craigos too, and they said they're fine with it, so. I mean, I've been working on my garage, I work at Iverson's, and I've done working on my garage since I bought the property from Iverson's, because that's.
How do you address the covenants that you all have? I know covenants are not enforceable unless you civilly sue each other to make them enforceable or to enforce them, but you know, the covenants mean nothing.
Like I said, I just work on my stuff, and I've worked on a few friends' stuff out of my garage. I even worked on stuff for Iverson's out of my garage. And I'm not trying to, how should I say, I'm not trying to make a big shop out of it, just maybe once a month maybe work on something. I haven't worked on anything of my own for quite a while now.
Well, your son came to us asking to operate a business.
Right.
But he wants
And
to.
now he's saying that, well,
He wants to try and do something part-time out of the garage since he went to school and everything for it, and maybe in time try and make a business out of it.
But if it grows, we'll end up moving because there ain't room there to grow.
well,
Yeah.
you say that, but you know.
Well, there just physically ain't room there to grow.
There ain't room, and I'm not building on again.
Yeah, no. If it grows, I'll end up moving into town, into a bigger commercial building.
What constitutes growing?
Well, if I have to hire somebody for one, and just room, that's just it. If I get popular and a lot of people want work done, then I'll have to think about getting a different spot.
You know, one of my problems that I have with this is that apparently you've been doing this for a long time without a conditional use permit.
No, I've been working on my own stuff for a long time because I've been riding and racing dirt bikes and just being an enthusiast for a long time.
So you haven't charged anyone for any work that you've done heretofore?
No, I haven't opened my doors to anybody. I've worked on my friends' bikes.
And you didn't charge them for
No,
that?
because they're my friends. That's why I applied for my tax license and got my LLC so I could start charging my friends.
I'm going to make a motion. Craig goes in favor, and I'm in favor, so I make a motion to approve it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. McCardle.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Is there anybody else in the audience who wants to address this? Mr. Bender, come
A
on.
lot of talk for somebody to use their own property. Just saying. Sounds like.
Come up, if you want to talk, come up here.
I'll try not to use the C word. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Anybody else wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay. 6-2. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Hearing an action on application for Kreth. Ethan Co-op Lumber on behalf of Darwin and Pat Kreth have applied for a variance for combination of attached and detached accessory buildings of 3,036 square feet versus 1,050 square feet to build a new detached accessory building of 1,656 square feet located at 2709 Menser Court. Legal describes lots 5 and 6, Block 3, Woodland Heights, First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property is zoned as Woodland Heights Planned Development District. Mr. Jenigas.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent. We received 6 responses from the neighbors out of the 18. All 6 of them were in favor of it. The Planning Commission, siding will be the same as the house, overhangs will be the same. It'll have rock front to match the house, concrete driveway cut out for it. It's on 2 lots, so it's a bigger parcel than normal. It meets all setbacks. There were no issues from planning and zoning with this at all.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Reconvene the City Council, entertain a motion for Board of Adjustment to adjourn the City Council reconvene regular session. Motion by Mrs. Charks. Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2022-29, South Lake Estates Phase 1 Engineering with SPN.
Mr. Mayor and Council, SPN and Associates has provided an agreement to perform professional engineering services for South Lake Estates Development Phase 1. The project is proposed to be funded by the assessment process. The project is approximately 3,000 feet in length and will include improvements for water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, concrete curb and gutter, asphalt and surfacing. The agreement is on an hourly rate not to exceed the proposed $68,000 for preliminary, $46,000 for final, $6,000 for bid and negotiating, $65,000 for construction administrative phase, $150,000 for construction observation, $5,000 for post-construction, $340,000 for total services. Staff recommends City Council approve and of the attached agreement from SPN and for professional services. Joe is on Zoom if you have any questions for him, but Jeff from SPN is also here if you have any questions for him at all.
Hey, Mark, just a quick question. So I see on the plat where this specific Phase 1, what it specifically encompasses. So will only those parcels be assessed this portion?
That is correct. Any adjoining landowner would be assessed that.
And I'm trying to, it's hard to tell where this starts and ends based on the, where we're actually at. There's not really, huh?
I think
Well,
if
I'm
you go to
looking at this.
Yep, the third
But
attachment.
what I was wondering is if we have that in the actual, so that we can kind of see where that is on the actual map or the
laid out on a GIS.
GIS, yes.
I don't believe that we have it highlighted on GIS at all. It just has the entire map on there. It would be Indian Head from South Omen, or excuse me, North Omen, going all the way around to curving up, and then out the inlet to South Harmon.
By the park.
Yeah, by the park. So everything on the north side of that development would be CJM owns, and on the east side, or excuse me, the west side of that would be CJM. Along the south, there are different landowners that have property. CJM also has property on that portion as well. And then coming up and around, there's some different landowners there too. I don't know the approximate number of different landowners throughout the whole thing. I didn't count that up before this meeting. If you go to actual parcel viewer on on the county's website, that might be a better way to look at it because that'll actually show all the different parcels with it.
Is that updated? The county site?
I don't believe it's
Hey, Mark.
updated with
Yep.
the,
At the planning and zoning meeting, did you have many people there in opposition?
This does not go to planning and zoning at
Oh,
all.
it didn't. There was
Nope.
no planning and zoning.
There's no change to the zoning of this. It remains like RL. They requested a planned unit development, and they pulled it.
Yep.
So it remains RL. Everything will have to meet residential lake.
so this would be the old right-of-way layout, but the portion that's subject to this plan would just be that southern road and then the loop up to the north and then back out to Harmon.
We did have, if you all remember, a resident that lives on South Harmon and the access that goes in to it, and he was concerned about the cost that he would be assessed from there, from South Harmon into the park area.
Do you know what that assessment is? Do you remember?
I do not know that assessment off the top of my head. And he would only be assessed for the portion in front of his land, not the rest of the property. He has 3 parcels there. They're combined into one, but he'd only be assessed the portion that's being updated, not the rest of it.
I don't think you're not talking the same resident. They're talking a different one from what you are, I believe. The one John's
talking about-
referencing is over by the park.
Luzak?
Yeah.
You're correct. I was not talking about the same one.
Jeff McCormick with SBN. So I visited with Joe about the project and talking about how we're going to break out the special assessments based on benefit, based on linear footage of use. So I mean, those are all items that we'll work through in the design and better define those costs.
So there's still the possibility of some flexibility with those assessments.
Right, yeah, the resolution for special assessments, none of that has been
This is
put
just
in
for the
place,
design.
right? This is just to get us into the design so we can get started with securing some of those numbers, trying to get it nailed down a little bit closer and decide exactly how we want to break that out based on benefit.
Okay, I appreciate that you're looking at benefit. That, I feel like that's really key, that be taken into consideration. So thanks, Jeff, for that.
Other questions for Mr. McCormick? Okay. Come on up.
I'm Terry Timmons and my wife Judy Timmons. We both own the land at 208 South Harmon Drive, and we own both of the lots behind us, one right directly behind us and the other behind our neighbor. These lots are not for sale, and we consider them our backyard. We have a contractor that wants to put sewer, water, street, and gutter along our backyard. I have no problem with that. It's his land, but he should pay for it. This is our backyard, not for sale, and it's not going to be used. We have no use for the sewer, water, gutter, street. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I have anxiety disorder. There's no special benefit to my land to do all this. I feel that the contractor should cover the cost of all this. There was a case out of Pierre that went to the South Dakota Supreme Court, and they stated that it requires a special benefit to the assessed property to taxes the way you're planning to tax it. I would recommend that you get into a pre-development agreement with the developer, have him agree that he's going to cover 100% of the cost of this, because all the way around the South Harmon Drive, the people that own the land behind them, that's their backyard. It's not their front yard. It's not going to be their front yard. That street has no value to any of us. And so we don't take you by surprise later on. We've already gotten a group together to hire a lawyer to fight the assessments on this property if you're going the route you're going. So that's why I'm suggesting now that you should actually get into agreement with the developer and have him agree to pay for 100% of the cost. I appreciate you listening to me, and I appreciate you all serving on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to reiterate to the council, this is just the engineering and design work. the special assessment, any of the other components of this, such as how grants might factor in or tax increment financing, that would come back to the council again at a later date, as would the assessment.
Go on up, Jeff.
My name is Jeff Lanning. I live at 76 South Harmon Drive with my wife, Mary. I agree with Mr. Timmons. We own 4 lots along there. Doing the road and the water and sewer is to no benefit to us as far as that. Like you said, that's our backyard. We have no plans on selling it or anything. So at this point, like he said, I'd like to agree with him on the pre-development agreement. And I understand what he said. This is just beginnings of this, but getting our opinion out here to you guys at this point, I feel is important. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that that's what Jeff is saying, is that they're going to be looking at those benefits to the individual homeowners. I think that's an important
That's what we talk about. It is difficult because it's been dedicated right away since the 70s. So, I mean, it's still going to have right-of-way frontage. So, but I mean, that's, we'll have to look at and figure out how we're going to determine that. So,
I guess, do we know time frame wise on that? How long that takes?
Design, we're going to be a few months before we'll get design done and then have to work through that process. I haven't heard anything on when we're looking to schedule the special assessment hearings or any of those items. But I know that the intention is to move quickly with the project, just because there might be some potential funding through the recent housing thing that wants to be, sought after. So I think it'll move fairly quick. But, I mean, I really don't see construction happening this year, so I mean, we're months before we'll be coming back with anything else.
Just to say that we could have had a line of people out the door if we would have known this sooner, and everybody would have had their own say to it, but talking to the neighborhood people, there is a consensus that we both agree that it's no benefit to us at all.
What do you got to say, Reed?
It's sad people have to go to court to figure out what the laws are when they're all so incoherent, isn't it? Whatever. Where does this sewer go? Do you know? Yeah, wouldn't doubt it, huh?
It's going to go to the Ullman lift station.
The Ullman lift station.
Yep.
Direct to Ullman, it's going to bypass the one, the Ullman one is right, kind of.
No.
On Ullman and South Harmon, right there. Okay.
Majority of it will go there. Some will go to the South Harmon one first.
So it will be separate. Okay. Well, they all go to the same place. And we currently have problems with that overloading? I mean, I'm pretty sure, Bob Mueller, is that the one that backs up into Bob Mueller's house?
That I'm not sure.
I see some people shaking their head yes. I bet Bob would be pissed if that goes in there. Is there any way to, in the past, in Sioux Falls, I've seen a new trend where they've been putting in some, basically, storm systems kind of behind the houses to collect, their sump pumps in the basement and stuff to keep it out of the sewer, basically a new sewer system, drain tile system just for that, just to keep it out of the sewer system, because people are going to put their sump pumps in their sewers, right? So I've seen that, it actually dewaters the whole area and everything too without putting it into the sewer system. I've seen that trend anyway. So I just know these lift stations, and I know they go to the Ullman and 23rd, and they all.
Yeah.
There's going to be problems in the future, right? We can see them coming.
Right. The Ullman and 23rd one, we're currently finalizing the design for that and hope to have that bid out in the year. I believe you just secured funding for the Ullman and South Harmon one. So that'll be designed with the funding that has in place. That's got to be built by 2026. So all of that is in consideration already.
Anybody else wish to address this?
I'll move approval for Agreement 2229, Design Agreement for South Lake Estates.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rice. Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody else wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Agreement A 2022-30, DANR American Rescue Plan Act grant for North Wastewater Treatment Facilities Improvements, Project 2021-31.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Council authorized an application for financial assistance to Danner on May 16, 2022 for the North Wastewater Treatment Facility. The city has received $2.846472 grant for the Danner, from Danner for the American Rescue Plan Act for the project. Documents are available for you to take a look at. Staff recommends approval and authorize the mayor to sign.
Motion by Mr. McCardle. Second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this one? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2022-47, plat of lots 3, 4, and 5 of CJM 3rd Edition. Mr. Jenigas.
Mayor and Council Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent. CJM is out of city limits. It's just in the ETJ. As you remember, we just did, if you recall, we just did lots 1 and 2 just adjacent to the east of there. He's looking to sell his property in the future. He's building a new house, so he's subdividing it right now in case the future buyers do not wish to purchase the entire property.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2022-48, plat of Kelly Tracks 1A and 2. As you recall, there was some additional land that was requested in the selling of the Kelly house. This plats those pieces so that they can be declared surplus. Mr. Johnson, anything else you want to say?
No, that covers it.
What's kind of the timeline, Mayor, that you're kind of thinking? I know we're methodically walking through this, but as far as closing.
I think we wanted, was it September 15?
Well, the final deadline is September 30th. We're still on pace to be done before that. So item 17 you've got on here tonight, too, to actually surplus the property and start the process of selling that part, too. So hopefully by next meeting, we'll be able to bring back that offer for approval by council.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Savers, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2022-49, DANR application for a tire recycling grant. Mr. Roth, do you need to say anything about this? This is the grant that we have periodically got to accept tires for recycling, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion.
Mayor, how do we let people know that they can bring their tires, or it's a press release? Do you want to?
Come on up, Mr. Roth. I know you were trying to avoid the microphone.
Yeah, the old DNR, which is Danner now, they do this about every 3 years. They just kind of give us a last minute notice. So this just come out about a month and a half ago, and they pay 80%. City pays the other 20%. Back in 2019, I think we took in around 350 ton of tires, and our cost was like 13.4, 13.5 or something like that. But yeah, they just, about every 3 years, they kind of do this.
And you send this out in the newspaper? Is there any other way that people
Yeah,
might
we,
be aware? This might be a good time to.
Once we get approval, the resolution gets signed and everything, if it happens to, then we submit it back to Danner, and there'll be a work order in there. And then at that time, we can issue press releases and stuff. It'll be on the website and different areas, but.
We don't have it yet. We're
Right,
just
this is
applying
just the
for it.
application.
Yeah.
But there is a press release attached to the.
Yes, that was all in 2019. It's pretty much just following the same format.
It's
hasn't-
dated July 20th of 2022, so.
Yeah, we just kind of prepared it.
Yeah.
Because
No, I appreciate that.
we had to submit something to Danner, letting them know that we were that if approved, that we would participate in it. They're trying to earmark the funds, so to speak, I guess, ahead of time here. It's got to be done before the end of the year in 2022, so. Like I said, they don't give you much time to think about some of this stuff, and they want an answer. So, anyway.
Okay.
But it's a good deal. It keeps tires out of the ditches and everything. And they pay 80%, so. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Roth? Don't go too far, just in case. All right. All right, we have any further discussion? We have a motion second. Yep, we have a motion second, so. Oh. Well, what are you doing asking now, then?
I just still had questions.
All right. You're supposed to ask that in the discussion part. All right, sorry. Action and resolution R 2022-50 declaring certain real property near 405 800 to 50th Street to be surplus, appointing a board to conduct an appraisal and authorize the sale of such real property pursuant to state law. Mr. Johnson.
All right, well, we just talked about this 2 items ago, so I'll open it back up for any questions if there are any on this portion.
So our original offer does not include the additional land?
It does.
It does.
But they understand that we have to go through the hoops in order to get the additional land to them. So, yes, there won't be any additional money coming in for it, but we have to go systematically to get it approved and surplused.
Yeah, so if you recall, the prior offer that we approved on the main Kelly property had a condition that that offer would be reduced by any amount that's required to purchase this property. So that's how they tie together.
Okay. So we won't get any additional money. It's all part of the $1.59 million that we got. Okay.
Move to approve resolution R 2022-50.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Charles, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve resolution R 2022-51, a resolution giving approval to certain sewer facility improvements, giving approval to the issuance and sale of revenue bonds in one or more series to finance directly or indirectly the improvements to the facilities, approving the form of the loan agreement and the revenue bonds, and pledging project revenues and collateral to secure the payment of the revenue bond, and creating special funds and accounts for the administration of funds for operation of the system and retirement of the revenue bonds, and providing for the suggested special charge or surcharge for the payment of the bonds.
Now that
You want to handle this one?
Sure. Included in the packet is the resolution that the mayor just read through. This resolution is required as part of the state revolving loan fund loan that the city gets for the improvement projects. The city has already awarded this, or I take that back. I don't think it's been awarded, but the rate increase has already been, so the rate increase has already been in effect. So this really just authorizes the bonds and also segregates the surcharge. You'll see this surcharge listed later on the rate resolution as well. I was asked about where this project is located. The city council reviewed a number of projects back when we were deciding where the ARPA money would be committed to. So this is the project area for LiveSay. I can answer any other questions.
I'll move approval of Resolution 2022-51.
Okay, motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Sabers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2022-52, a resolution giving approval to certain sewer facility improvements, giving approval to the issuance and sale of revenue bonds in one or more series to finance directly or indirectly the improvements to the facilities, approving the form of the loan agreement and the revenue bonds, and pledging project revenues and collateral to secure the payment of the revenue bond, and creating special funds and accounts for the administration of the funds for operation of the system and retirement of the revenue bonds, and providing for segregated special charge or surcharge for the payment of the bonds. Back at you.
Sure. This resolution is for the wastewater treatment plant, Phase 1. This is again required as part of the state revolving loan fund for the bond documents, as well as segregating the surcharge for the project. A couple things that are different about this to point out is that of the total project cost, you will see the financed amount is less, and that is because we are getting the ARPA money that you just approved a grant for previously. The city also committed our ARPA money to the project as well. So of that amount financed, you'll also see that $1,733,374 is issued as non-point source funds. Those are the funds that we've been using for Lake Mitchell watershed improvements. So that's more funds that will be committed to the watershed improvements.
Upstream.
Yep. So you will be asked to pass an amended rate resolution later in the meeting, and that is just because when you first set the rates for this project, when we went out to bid, the costs just went up. So the increase to the rate will cover those increased costs, but are still within the rates that were shown to council. And then we will also be asking to set a surcharge as part of that resolution as well.
Stephanie, is this part of the thing where we have to have our rates at a certain level in order to qualify for some of the funds that are coming from the state?
No, this is, you have to set the rates to cover the cost of the debt. By doing that surcharge, then you're taking that and putting it aside from your constitutional debt. So basically what you're doing is you're pledging revenue specifically to cover the debt service of this project. We do not, I don't know actually, I don't know the last time we asked if, I'm not even sure if we're at the level where we qualify for those grants yet. You'll see on the next resolution, I'm just going to pull this up so you can see this. Even with, oops, I take that back, it's on my staff report. Even with the rate increases that are discussed, the city of Mitchell, will be the rate after those increases, is still lower than all of the cities listed, even what we show as a 2026 rate for the city of Mitchell. So this rate resolution is going to bring you up to right here, $81.55 for a comparison point. And you can see that we're the lowest out of all the cities listed. So the first item on the agenda is the bond resolution and surcharge, which is required as the financing, and the next one will be the rate resolution.
I just want to go on record to say that none of us want to raise rates, but there are things that have to be done, and there's grants and all of those things that are available, and so it's not like we're all celebrating that we're going to raise the water and sewer rates or whatever. It's just one of those things that has to be done. So, sadly.
Come on up.
Thanks for addressing that, Susan. Because you don't want to do that all the time, do you? Now, I think last time we were at the water meeting, Joe mentioned something about $3 million from the sewer funds going towards the lake, cleanup of the lake.
No, that's $3 million that we've gotten through the grants that we get from SRFs that we use to do our improvements.
They were for the sewer and you reallocated them towards the lake?
No. When we do certain work, we get a grant from DANR, that 3 million is the grant we got from DANR when we did the work where we had to borrow through SRF.
Yeah, so basically what the state does.
Reallocating it from the
Yeah,
sewer.
no, the
No.
state basically takes part of the interest that we pay on our loan, and instead of keeping that interest, they divert it into these grants.
Okay.
So it's like.
I was just wondering if
Yep.
you were diverting them from the,
Nope.
to the
Nope.
wastewater plant at that point.
Nope.
So, okay, all right. You know, let's see here. As far as the water projects and stuff you do have going on right now, I mean, when we drain the lake, Poet's going to need water, right?
Correct.
And you do have that in the works to be able to supply them with
Correct.
water with our current system?
Yes, that will be in the design that we do.
Okay, so, because I know we're already borderline being able to keep up during peak hours, right? Are we going to be able to?
You're
do
talking potable water. Right now,
Yes,
Poet
potable.
takes directly out of the lake.
Yes, but
So in the design
gonna
of
do
dredging the lake, we would have to continue to give Poet water from the lake.
You would, okay.
Right.
Okay, you're still going to do that.
Okay, so
As
we
far
would,
as-
yeah, we would have to account for them being able to take their water in the design of the
As
dredge.
far as the soybean plant with the water there,
We are not serving them water
not
at this
yet.
time.
but the plan would be, is there a way to get them non-potable water? Because if it's a processing
No.
plant, unless it's a food grade plant?
Right now,
I'm sure about that.
right now, I think they are discussing water with Davidson Rural Water.
Okay, okay.
I'm not going to say that's not going to be a discussion that comes up later, but right now, the city is not providing water to the soybean plant.
Yeah, well, obviously.
No, I mean, the plan, right now, we are not planned
Oh,
to
you're
be
not
the
planned.
supplier, okay?
Okay.
They are planning to have a source outside of the city,
Oh, really?
yes.
I want to know if they can get the lake. Well,
That may change as things progress, I don't know.
Well, moving on, I guess I've been a big advocate for years through different engineers and different people throughout the city for a long time about having some pipeline management software. And basically, because you guys don't really know what you have, I give you a little tiny flash drive for the last 15, 20 years, 30 years, I don't know how long it's been. And that little flash drive has all the information on it, right? The condition of the pipe, where it's at, and all the stuff. And then that little flashlight disappears into the ether, right? So pipeline data management software actually gets all that data, and you go to Google Earth, point and click, and you can bring up the condition of the pipe, of everything, the GIS, GPS locations on it and everything, right? It's really good for capital improvement programs, you know, because sewers are the only thing you can actually look at underground to determine the conditions of that, and it gives you an idea of where you need to do things, right? It's really good for that. And currently, when it comes to the sewer system, I see all these problems, right? When Joe talks about it, putting in detention, retention ponds and all that stuff, it's right when he's being truthful when he says those policies are in place for the city, but I'm talking about stuff that's existing that I personally see dumped directly into the lake and stuff like that, river. I see it all the time. But one of my current concerns is I know right now there's a 40-foot deep manhole that is so badly deteriorated that it will sooner or later just cave in. All right, I see it happen all the time. It's right in the middle of a parking lot, and the hole would be the size of my truck. Okay, my big vacuum truck. So, and it will shut down the south end of town. I know these things. I see them all the time. They just never get addressed. And one of the things about pipeline damage management software, it tells you the conditions and what needs to be addressed. And I'd hate to see that happen. I could even show you a place that I told years ago to fix it, and it caved in, and it's still under their building right now, a huge void waiting for some huge equipment to fall in this hole. I see these safety concerns all the time. Now, when it comes to like the watershed and stuff like that, would it be helpful when I see these SSOs, sewer system overflows, dumped directly into the lake and stuff? Would it help if I called the DANR, whatever it is now? Would it be helpful for you guys?
Good question, I don't
That
know. It's
answer's
certain.
no.
Well, I know, I know,
It
get
will
a.
not.
Let
Okay,
me
you
finish.
don't have to answer that one. Anyway.
If you feel you have to call them, you call them, Reed.
So I see people's sewer systems, they go directly into places along the watershed too. It's pretty disgusting, and I don't narc people off, that's the problem, right? So I think back to the pipeline data management stuff, I think that would be very valuable for the city just to address some of these problems that I do see all the time. And I know I say people don't care. I like to say that a lot because you don't. And I can prove it by, I mean, have any of you been down to the wastewater plant where we're spending 20 million?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. That surprises me, actually. Usually people don't put that much effort into it. I see these projects going and they put little real world, what am I trying to say? Real world preparation going into these things, you know. They're not really prepared so many times I see, so I don't know where I'm going with that, so I'm going to be done. Thanks.
Anybody else wish to address this? All right, we need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2022-53, resolution amending the City of Mitchell sewer rates to include and implement a surcharge for the wastewater treatment plant Phase 1 and Live Safe projects. Ms. Elwine.
Joe picked a good week to be on vacation, I have to say that. So, first of all, just a couple things that council had reviewed previously this year when we reviewed future capital projects and potential uses of our allocation of the state ARPA money. In addition, the city also committed our direct funding for the ARPA funds. So as you can see, the ones that are above, I gotta find my mouse, the gray line there are the ones that are already, we're already done, and our current rates as of today here. Now with the wastewater treatment plant, that's the next step. Everything that we've reviewed with council previously, and these are what our pending SRF applications are out for. You can see the total there of $107.52. And back to this sheet, that was, well, it's a little bit higher on here, but this is the maximum amount after and if all projects were completed through the city. At that rate, we're still the fourth highest of the cities listed. Right now, in comparison, the city of Mitchell, for the 2022 rates comparing to other 2022 rates, is the lowest of those listed. If you remember, after the first time you looked at the project list, we went back and got more current figures from everybody. What we also know is that all first-class the majority of the first-class municipalities that I've spoke with are also committing their city ARPA funds towards their towards these projects to also capture that state match fund. So you're going to see the point is you're going to see everybody's rates go up just like ours are. So in your packet was the amended rate resolution. I did include the historical rate increases that council reviewed at a previous work session as well. Just for information, we are not changing anything to the current water rates. We just like to list both water and sewer on any changes because it makes it a lot easier for us to find those when they're contained on the same resolution. So there are no changes to the water rates. You can see our existing SRFs there at the bottom, our existing surcharges. And then this is the new sewer rate. As I said in my staff report, this is going up $2, and then this one was, I gotta look again, 29 cents for the per unit charge. You will see the projects that those surcharges will be segregated for: Sanborn Phase 2, East Central Drainage, and Daily Drive Lift Station. Those are already in place. The ones that are bold are the two new surcharges that are required as from the two bond resolutions you just passed. $11.60 a month comes for the wastewater treatment plant, and 77 cents a month for Live Say. The way the city of Mitchell does ours is we just charge that fee, and then once we get our monthly revenue in, then we take that revenue and segregate it out for the debt service payment as is shown here. So for the wastewater treatment plant, they would take $11.60 each month for the number of users on the number of accounts on the city's books, and we put that over for the debt service payment for that project. One thing that was not noted on here is we did not have the effective date. The recommended effective date for this would be September 1st. Yep.
Stephanie, what do they charge for interest rates on that?
The last one that and this is a 30-year loan. It's one of the only ways the city can do that long of financing. The current interest rate is 2.175. And I'm not sure if that was after these ones were already set. Well, no, they wouldn't be because we haven't closed the loan. So 2.175 for 30 years. And again, part of our interest is going towards the watershed, at least with the wastewater treatment plant. So we're still writing the check, but instead of it going to the bank, it's going back to the city through a grant, or as a grant for the watershed efforts.
Come on, Mr. Sibbs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was looking at the historical rate.
State your name, please.
My name is Steve Simpson.
Thank you.
And I have a question regarding the historical rate increase PDF. It starts out in 1993 on the sewer base of $4. 10 years later, it goes up 25%, which averages 2.5% a year. That makes sense to me. But then all of a sudden, in 19, it goes up 115%, and then 24% a year later, and 50%. It seems like there's been a big explosion in that rate, and I'm curious as to what would cause that. I'm not opposed to user fees.
No, well,
I'm not against this resolution. I'm curious what would cause that explosion in the last 4 or 5 years.
My
in that
understanding
rate.
is it was the number of projects that needed to be completed that were being deferred for so long, and that's why you weren't seeing rate increases earlier. The city just wasn't taking on those major projects. And so when you did your facility plan for both water and sewer, it outlined everything that needed to be repaired or replaced or upgraded in the next 5 to 10 years. So all of this is, at least from probably 2015 on, has come as a result of that.
Okay, so these projects, are they due to increased environmental requirements on our treatment of the sewer systems, or is there something, certainly not due to more capacity needs for these projects, so I'm assuming it's for a better...
Mr. McCormick, you guys did the study on the infrastructure,
Some of
did
it's
you not?
replacing the aging infrastructure.
Right, it's just...
I mean, it's not an unending lifespan. Everything needs to be replaced and repaired over time. And we're to the point where we had a lot of pipe that needed to be replaced underground. Unfortunately, it's not something we see every day driving by it, but it's extremely costly to repair and replace. And Joe did give me a comment here, too, that if we had been doing these rate increases consistently, it would have been close to about 5% per year to get us where we are now. And council has said repeatedly that they would like us to get into that habit, or into that mode where you could do more steady rate increases instead of having to have big jumps like this.
It's just aging infrastructure. That
Yeah,
needs to-
I understand
needs to
that.
be addressed.
I was kind of curious about the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, and
I know you are.
But I'm not opposed to user fees, and we need to pay for what it costs, so I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address this? Okay. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen to approve, second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We're adjourned.
That's not here. Wouldn't have it.